just need to make sure it's the same ones. If you can just look to see that match up.
So you need the stream RT and
Just look up there and compare the two. And if it's the right thing, then I'm doing it right.
I can't see the stream key numbers though.
Well, here, if you just go and stand next to it.
Oh, I see. Oh, above.
KZDE dash UK 58 dash HQ 22. Oops,
Hey, how are you?
52.
I mean, the first ones are right. and-
This is correct. And
We've run into.
I think we're good now.
stream URL RTMP YouTube deck. Playboy MC, yeah.
This show. Hello. You're from your council meeting?
Yes.
I'm a member. And Maureen Bean. And Charity. Thanks to you.
Now here's an agenda, Carl. I'm Mel. Doug's assistant and the operations supervisor here, and this is their library director.
I already like chicken scratch all over paper, so I'm not surprised. I was like, for a second, I was like. And I started trying. Yeah.
On time. I'm Elaine Howard, the consultant working with the city of West Lynn on this project.
That was when there was something else we did. Well,
It's-
that's not even my, this is somebody else's.
She's got the wrong title with the wrong video.
That's fun. Should learn technology.
This is something different. Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Well, yeah, that's this, but it's
Oh,
supposed to show
that
that.
doesn't go live.
But we're just gonna record it, then they can take
Okay.
it up afterwards.
Operating for anyone else?
Doug said he thinks Joy's in Africa,
Oh.
and they're not appointing, when we just talked about, they're not reappointing. Yeah, that because she expired at the end of the year anyhow, so that rather than having appointing and then reappointing, so, or rerunning, or whatever, applying. Whatever. So, and then Susan. So. Just those chickens. This is chicken. This is chicken.
Trying to- For the concert we were having, you don't have to make, I can't, I'm terrible. with what I got an email that a customer today, for the welcome to Doll's there. She's like, "I'm sorry, I was saying, reading. Hello. Hi. Here for the art and culture meeting? Yes. Great. I am great, great. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you.
She's one of the artists that displayed for our
Okay.
exhibit.
I did the copies.
Yes, the poppies, and as Erin comes to the meeting, yes, anyone can come.
Sure, absolutely.
She has some lovely ideas for next
Cool.
year, so I was like, you should come and join us.
Thank you.
Great. I'm glad you came. I was like, oh, maybe she's gonna
Took me a little longer to get here than I thought. So. Supposed to only get me 5 here from my house in 5 minutes, but it took me 10.
come.
43 can be tricky.
That's
Yeah. 43 is.
What's your last name, Grace, just so I can ask?
Carney. It's CARGNI.
G-N-I.
Italian.
And thank you.
All right, you guys can start.
Yes. So I guess we'll call the meeting start at 5:05. And we're going to call to order. I'm restarting the meetings, I get nervous. We have to go over it, we have to approve the minutes, is that correct? The first thing is due on the agenda.
Public comments. Are there any public comments?
Any public comments?
None. Okay.
Okay.
Now you can.
Okay, I'd like to approve the minutes from June 1st, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes that are attached to the back of our agenda?
Oh,
There you go.
I move to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. Okay. So first on the agenda, we had a great show in August with one of our artists who sang Grace. We're just going to discuss how we thought the show went, ideas for next year for how maybe different things we could do to make it more smoothly. Grace, when I was here for her to pick up the art, she had some really wonderful ideas. Like, oh, we should turn that. Yeah, we should. So Grace did.
Well, I remember that.
I remember them. I wrote them down. Thank goodness. Just because it's really good. So I think one of the ideas we discussed was August was really hard to start because people are gone and it was a lot of moving parts to get people here to paint the art. And people are in the school starting, or it's a really wonky time. I wonder if we could do it just maybe after Labor Day to start, like it would be now for the start, or have it at the beginning of the summer start. So it's on display for summertime.
Pick a different month, I would assume. You could pick like October, you could do February, you could do March, you could do it when.
I think it's
Has
just
to be-
keeping it, knowing when, how far out we're and booked.
Yeah.
For the art already, like the start.
Right.
And we can just
So you
check.
can check with
Cheryl.
Cheryl and I can let you guys know.
Yeah. I just
Actually, I think
think
she works
maybe-
late tonight.
I can reply.
Just check and see how we're booked out, and anytime after that, going forward, we can schedule it.
Okay.
I think we did 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Probably
Okay.
editing, yes, that was
Okay.
in your hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. I was thinking of later, even next fall, just because it seemed like it was a really tough thing for everybody. We're all just kind of like, you can show up, I don't know, I'm gone, and so there's a lot of moving parts. So just an idea, if we could just bump it a little bit might be good. Another idea that Grace had, which I thought was excellent, was the artist, it was really fun to be in the room when they were looking at the art and listening to them talk about what kind of
inspiration they used and why they painted what they did, and so, it would be a neat thing to have, the artist could have, an evening, to come talk to the artist night, or each artist could have a different night, so it's like, they can own it, or they can all be here to talk, or just have a nice thing for the artist to be. That was, brought up from, a couple of them saying it would have been nice to talk to people who saw the art or who had comments about it, so that, be that nice element to add next year.
I think we had planned to do a reception, but nobody.
Yeah. And, I think we weren't allowed to do a reception, but
And the library.
oh, I think, remember we said we are gonna do one, and then they said we had to vote on it and get approval. And so I said, oh, we're gonna do a reception, and then they said, no, we didn't vote on it, we didn't approve it.
Yeah, we never had a forum.
Yeah, we never wanted to approve it.
It looks like it's in the notes, actually.
So you have a quorum now, you can vote to do it.
Yeah.
Start taking care of
The
it.
email I got back was we were not allowed to do that. So I would like to move that next year, we do have a reception to invite the artists to be here. And have an opening for the gallery. I think that'd be lovely to have some. Like to sign.
I second, as long as there's, the volunteer human power to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I just think it's a nice thing. Like I was volunteered to do it, but then I was emailed that I could not, because we never voted on it, so that it was approved. So I just said, okay, we'll do it maybe next year. I think the other thing that was, really would be good with it, Grace had mentioned, not just like the opening reception, but like you could say, the artist going to be here and say, Grace is going to be here on Thursday evening. If you'd like to talk to her about how she did her watercolor copies, and then have it open to the public. People can come in and say, how did you do that? What kind of pastels did you use? What did you do? You know, like that was the kind of thing too, like giving each artist an opportunity to have a night to talk about their art, in addition to having like an opening section. Would that be something that?
So like an artist day,
Yeah.
could be just in a whole month, so even if an artist picks, one day out of the month,
Yeah.
I have that opportunity. It's easy when you have 31 days to choose as opposed to one day for a reception and then.
Yeah, I think if the logistics were worked out, I mean, this is a community room, so people use it for other purposes sometimes, and so I think it just depends on number of artists that are selected and their ability, like, it seems fine to invite artists to do that, but the onus probably of making a schedule on that versus on that.
Yeah, so if we,
Shy having done.
yeah. Yeah. So just looking at the schedule and saying, hey, if you want to participate, this is the night that this is the night that the one's available, if you want to be available. Would that work, do you think?
Potentially, or we could do video based, like artist presentations. I know I've been to, like virtual, especially during the pandemic. I've done virtual artist talks for virtual receptions. And in fact, I believe Cheryl does a lot of videos or no, Cheryl doesn't, but somebody does videos for
It's Cheryl.
library social media,
Mm-hmm.
to promote the shows as well.
Yeah, certainly, certainly we can do things like that, and we're happy to put on, the city's happy to put on a reception for the show. I think you got all the way to the point of voting on it, and then if you vote on it, then it's gonna happen.
Great.
Yeah.
And your dates are September, October, November, December.
Okay.
Those are open for next year. Right now.
So if it's booked through July.
Great.
And you guys don't want August, so that leaves September, October, November.
So for next year, do you think would be, you would try for September, like in the beginning, or is that for us, September, like Labor Day is the last hurrah for summer? So it had to be after Labor Day, or do you want to just say it's gonna be October and make it an October show?
I think all times there's that, I mean, it's sort of September 9th, and sort of things are slowing down, but then school starting, and then October, you've got soccer, you've got baseball, you've got.
It is always
All the
something.
things, so it's
Yeah.
always gonna be something, so I think whatever anybody here wants, I think November, it's all tough for one
Not
reason or
December.
another.
Yeah. So there's September, October, you cover this, do you mind? Because the reason you might want one over the other.
I think October is lovely because it's still most of the time, nice weather. So it's not like you're hunkered down at home and you don't want to brave the rain for that day. And especially since artists are bringing in the work from the cars too. So
So October. Like October. Why not? Sounds good.
still kind of summer.
Yeah, this looks fallish. We can do some fun things.
So we go to the community art events, library and
And with the reception.
With the reception.
Now, it will never happen. Next.
So we're gonna have the next show in October 2023 with a reception. And our artists to be able to come and talk about it. That'd be great.
So many things answered.
That's all I had, comments I had about the art and culture, about our show. Did people ever have, anybody else have any comments or suggestions?
I think, and some of it was just by virtue of it occurring over the summer, but we had such a rocky meeting schedule before, during, and after. And I think that really complicated things.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
There's definitely a shortage of people stepping up to do key tasks. And I think the people who were doing key tasks were pretty done with doing tasks about halfway through, and we stepped back a little bit. So I think we need to get a much longer on-ramp to that. And I don't know if it makes sense to have a subcommittee, but there was a lot of talking about the things that need to be done. But as my friend, who's a very good project manager, was just saying yesterday, if there's no name next to the task doesn't exist. We had a lot of those tasks.
Yeah. So do you want, should we have a subcommittee then, or?
I don't know if a
volunteers?
subcommittee is an answer or what it is, but we need to have a long
Commitments?
time on getting stuff. Yes. People need to commit.
Commitments.
And then do that.
If a little bit leads into, I have the fourth.
All right.
And we can sort of board member
With
expectations,
that,
it's just
on that.
a little bit inspired by some of that, of just like, and it'd be great if all. Like, at least for here, not 7, want to get one, but just to kind of talk about what people's expectations are for being on the board and what that looks like outside of the meetings. So I think, I don't know that
Kim can say
we should, yeah. And I don't know that there will be any decisions made. But just like, what's the best way? There's a lot of really good ideas for doing things, but.
I think it'll be easier too in the fall, 'cause I think people will be around, and that's part of it. Like, this is the first summer maybe anybody could really travel. We were gone for like a month, so, because we hadn't done travel for 2 years. So I think it'll be easier because people will be here, be settled. I think it'll be easier to take out. And also Perry did a great job with the artists, with just the agreement that was signed and everything's put into place. And so I think that's wonderful too. And I have the binder, by the way, all the artists and the release signers. I just have it.
I think from the city side, we can, probably, if we identify early enough what needs to be done besides a reception, like, there needs to be help to hang on, right? Once you decide what you want to do, we have enough notice, I can bring the teams together and we can, what I would like is just an open conversation about what you feel we can help you with, so that I can then institute that and help with that. And it doesn't just have to be library people. We have a new city manager. I have community services. I'm also have communications now under my portfolio. So we have abilities now that maybe we didn't have before. So if we can talk about it, I don't want you to feel like everything has to be on your shoulders. But I do think the things that you can carry are the decisions that are made. I think that's really important, that the art that is curated for a show or decisions made around art is made by this committee. I think there's some thought that other people are involved or other people are influencing that, and it's not, of course, but we need to make sure that people know that, and are seeing that, but as far as like things that can be done, certainly reception, certainly other things around helping and outreach. Let's talk about those things so we can make sure you're not feeling that as in its totality as well. If that helps.
Any other suggestions or comments about the art show? I think as we all recognize that we could have benefited from a much longer window for getting submissions. So just kind of getting our communication ducks in a row, that might help a lot. Danielle and that team is part of your group now that, just to make it easier to announce things like this. Not just shows like this, but I know we wanted to promote other events in the area as well, just kind of getting that communication channel primed. I know we didn't give artists very much advance notice. I think some of the ongoing communication about when to drop off, when to pick up, how this worked, how that worked, what the expectations are. There are a lot of holes, I think, in that whole process. I know that there are definitely moving pieces that I usually see in place for group art shows that as an artist I want to be comfortable with the gaps that we have. So I think that there's things we can do to help artists feel more comfortable leaving their works back here.
Were there any problems with the art that was here or?
No, it's all just in case stuff, right?
Oh,
So
of
what
course,
happens if
yeah.
you pick up your work and it wasn't here? I know it was, you got it and everything's fine, but what if you should have been, it wasn't here? There was nothing that in your possession that said, no, I left this piece of art with you. And this was under your care, and it got damaged and now it's your responsibility or whatever the case might be. Like that's a bad example because I think the contract says that there's no insurance, but you know, that kind of thing, make it super clear that if something does go off the tracks, but here's how that gets handled. It's all the just in case stuff, right? That nobody thinks about until something goes wrong, and then it's like, oh crap, we didn't have any of that stuff in place.
Well, ideally, we don't want anything to go wrong, but there's also a risk as a artist or a person, when you drop something off to someone else, you expect them to be in their care and for them to take care of it. But there's also a liability that you have to sign off because there are things that the library certainly couldn't help if somebody came in and vandalized for whatever reason, and the artist wouldn't. So it has to be both ways. So I think for me personally, I knew I was dropping off my art. I was hoping that it would be safe. I trust the library and that to be good stewards and keepers of my art. But I also was okay signing a liability if anything happened, you know, that not to blame the library for something like that. I felt comfortable with that. I didn't for 1 minute think, you know, that this is an open area and something could happen because it could, but I hope it doesn't.
I'm hopeful that the artists all had a just fine experience. If not more than just fine, I think we just have some internal stuff that preceded the show that there are things we would like to have done better, and hopefully that quality of our internal, duck feet, straight kicking.
Well, yeah, there's
showed
always-
up and we're like, hey.
I think I was very for improvement for myself for the first time, and then just jumping in there, I thought it was. I saw the communication, right, and I acted upon it. I felt comfortable in the time between my signing off the application and all that, and the response from whoever responded, I don't recall. The communication about dropping off and all of that, I thought, was fine. There's a timeline, and it's up to you to meet it. And if you can't, then you need to communicate, vice versa. So for myself, for the first time, and being totally novice in all of this, because my art is my personal art. And I'm not selling art, I do it for myself. I thought the whole process was very easy for someone who doesn't know what the heck she's doing. So, so compliment to all of you for making it easy for someone who has never done anything like that to feel comfortable in dropping off, one of my babies.
We just want to make sure that that's the experience for everyone.
I hope so.
Anything else? Okay. Moving on to the second one, still working on the art walk, trying to figure out how we can do that. Again, when Grace was here, we were talking, and I think we brought this up before, having some of the local artists, having them paired with different restaurants or shops, different shops or people in the city, such as different businesses. Thank you. I'm trying to search for what I work, like 503 across the street or 1933, different places down on Overland that could display their art and have a little thing like you would see like coffee shops like at Mark, to have a place to say, if you call it an art walk, there's like, oh, did you know this artist is being featured at this location? Kind of a fun thing. I was trying to figure out a way to wrap my head around where the art could be safe. And we keep talking about different places, but it's just keeps not really going anywhere.
Do you know if anywhere currently have that kind of like, I assume some of the restaurants already, or the coffee shops already have like a rotating.
No,
Like,
I think if we were to invite Rebecca to Hollenbeck, who's the head of Main Street, and then also Shatrine Craig, who's the head of the chamber. We work with, especially the Main Street facing people, and that's what I'm thinking is probably for a consistent situation would have the most open businesses like that they would be a really good contact. I'm happy that if you'd like me to reach out to see if they could come to the meeting and you could talk to them about that if you'd like.
Yeah, I just think it's be a neat idea. Florida, because they do have, I didn't know that they have a student relationship, but it'd be nice because other businesses probably don't. I know that I do great. There's a lot of them down there. So, that'd be kind of cool thing. This would be have a way to do an art walk of some sort. Besides the at the youth music project, which is a really cool stained glass, but we don't have like a lot of different places we have to go. So yeah, that'd be great. We can see if they'd be interested, so that helping promote and contact artists might be good too. Because when I was here for the exhibit, I was like, oh, this would be really cool if it was like hung at our.
So what I can do is tomorrow, I will send out an email and I'll put you all the Arts and Culture Commission on the email to both of them, asking them for potentially come and talk at the October meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they can probably answer all those questions. I know that they're really connected, especially with the Main Street merchants and vendors and people. And it's a pretty tight group, all of them.
I know they did like a business scavenger hunt kind of thing earlier this year that like could maybe tie something in with that or
they're always looking for things to do. I know that. I'm working with them in the past.
It could just be a fun thing to do, like when you have an event, you say, oh, yeah, we'd like to do an art walk with Hale House to participate in all the businesses that did that. Cool. Okay. Any other ideas or comments on that?
Be interesting to hear what they say for next month.
Awesome. I have also been asked when I was down at the farmers market promoting the art show this summer. I had lots of parents ask why it wasn't 18 or younger. They said my daughter wants to paint, blah, blah, blah. Erwin's child wants to do art, right? So, I said, well, we're thinking about trying to do a youth exhibit. There's lots of different exhibits that the library do, so I just wanted to throw it out there. If we wanted to do something, as another exhibit, there'd be youth oriented. The good thing about that is when you get parents that have their children in your art, you get a lot of support. Just, you don't have them who want to volunteer and help and be participating because it's you know, my daughter's art was chosen to be shown at state for some project, and you know, all these parents, you know, want to be there because you're like, oh my gosh, my daughter's art was chosen. So I mean, there's just an idea I think would be a neat thing for the community. If we could pick a time to be like, oh, this is a great time to have to be just for an 18 member youth. So we can an art exhibit for that group.
I think particularly if we partner with the school district, beautiful. I know at the Wilsonville Festival of the Arts, and it's definitely downsized from what it used to be, but they partner really closely with the Wilsonville and Candy schools for that. And I believe the Charbonneau Art Festival also. Yeah, Charbonneau partners with Candy and Wilsonville, and Wilsonville Art Show just partners with the local schools. But I think even when they have the big full-blown festival in the park, there was a section dedicated just to student work. And then even just this year, when it was a much smaller event that they had at the Foghorn Church. They had probably more, and it was a big open space, it's not the main space of the church. They probably had more displays of just student than the community that was invited to stay. And that was really cool because then you got both audiences. You got the parent demographic that the kids are pulled in, as well as the demographic of folks that are there just to see the art show. And like if it was just a student art show, I probably wouldn't have gone to the festival. But since I was there anyway, I of course also perused all the student work. And because you're interested in your own students' work, but you're necessarily trying to seek out others. And so it was a nice mix.
So should we maybe mix it up in October and have both the way to say?
I think the space is way too small.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, my first stuff is I have elementary kids. So if it's 18 and younger, like my 6-year-old loves to think. The quality is questionable, but I mean, as you said, parents get really excited when their kids participate and stuff. So I think I just have a lot of questions real fast about like how many entries are we expecting? What kind of requirements do we have? Do we say elementary schools are included? There's 4 of them in Westland. Like the middle, anyway, I just think it gets real big real fast.
Right.
So I don't want to be cavalier about like, oh, we should just do that.
Yeah.
And I know Doug has said that the school district gets kind of itchy about when Westland gets something that Wilsonville does.
That's good.
Right. Our district likes to have the fidelity and.
If we did it in a similar.
This is where we bring in ones to the libraries or their arts commission, whatever, to say, hey, let's do it. If we present, I know that whenever we present, I present to the school district jointly with Wilsonville, it has 1,000 times better chance of it going because they, as you mentioned, when they want parity, they want it to be like one isn't over the other and everyone's complaining about it. So we try it, we work all the time, especially with the schools, our libraries work weekly together about things. So it's easy for us to do that with them and get them on board.
Right, and then I would just, my next like big question would be whether we actually jury it or if we have a public jury. I don't want to say no to anybody.
Well, I got the impression that, well, at least when I was a student, and the impression I got at Wilsonville was that it was instructor curated.
That's what, like, if it came from the school, and they were like, here's the people in the school saying, here's the art from our school or something, here's the first grade art.
Right. And then to make sure that everybody has an equal shot rather than just the kids and parents would pay attention.
Right.
Yeah, let's.
So anyway, that's where, where do we put it and then how do we decide? And that. Not in the property.
Right. It'd be interesting that we could maybe talk to our counterparts and just.
I have no idea how that works. I don't even know how we're gonna choose it. Like, as far as I was at school at Trillium, and then next thing you know, we went and then it went out to the exhibit.
That's usually through the students or the.
It's the
teacher.
Yeah,
yeah.
so there's something that happens here in Westwood. I have no idea how that all.
It's not through the city, as far as I know, it's, I think everyone knows.
Yeah.
Through the school district or some other participating agency. Certainly, we can get a hold of the Arts and Culture Commission for Wilsonville. I know there's multiple organizations but the one that the city is over is run by their liaison is the Parks and Rec director there. And he's fairly new in taking on this role too, so I think they're in there. You can see this body there, is in there, you can see.
I think it was more the WAC, I'm not sure, anyway, the person that I know best who was active in that show is Christopher Schiffelhart.
Right.
I believe he's active in both groups from a municipal organization level, and he's also the retired Wilsonville
It's not.
art teacher. And so I know he's well poised to connect with the art department there, but I bet he would have some great ideas for how we can do that in a similar fashion, so that it was, maybe we could even, have these things happening at the same time, so it's like two sides at the same time.
So my suggestion is if you want to do something like that, kind of write up a little proposal that we can then send it to their group, kind of saying, this is what we'd like to do jointly with the school districts, et cetera, and then we'll go forward with it.
So it'd be proposal for a youth art exhibit with the.
With the city of Wilsonville, so it could be,
Okay.
it could be like the library, it could
Okay.
be their arts commission. I mean, for us, this is kind of the best space we have that we control in the city for a space. Obviously, if you're doing, you want to have more people being able to participate at the younger ages. We'd have to probably be a little bit more creative here for spacing things out, right? And so that would be only my concern, would be, if you want to accept 100, folks, entrances, how are we gonna do 100 pieces of art?
Couldn't we look into alternative spaces like churches or, I don't know what the current story is with the welcome station. Like the Sunset Hall or even like big schools, like if we're partnering with the schools, we might be able to use an auxiliary gym on weekend or something.
I was about to say the ACC got that new addition, they just added on where they do the yoga. That's huge. That would be a good space. A huge space, along with the old space that they use for their kitchen area. So there's a lot of, and it's a lot of traffic. A lot of people go.
Auditorium is-
With parking as well, because you can't park in the parking lot. There's a school right around the corner.
Sunset Fire Hall is,
Pretty good size too.
yeah, that's something that the city manages directly, so maybe if the city manages directly will be easier for me to say, we can make it happen,
Yeah.
and something that maybe is managed by somebody else, which doesn't prevent it from happening, but it's not as easy. So,
But I think the ACC and the Sunset Fire Hall are both
yeah, we're both managed
pretty
by-
good.
Yeah.
And good size too, so that would be really.
I think the challenge with both of those places is it would have to be like a one-time event, like where this is gonna happen this day during these hours, rather than a month-long event where people can come in and
Yeah.
hear and see.
Maybe more like a weekend festival.
Yeah, it would have to be a weekend and
Yeah.
it's gonna be tied in if you wanted to put, Farfish, but you know, how we do the arts and crafts thing in November. We have vendors that come in.
The holiday.
Yeah, the
Holiday.
holiday bazaar thing where they, there's a lot. Just get tied with something where it's a weekend.
you're in charge of your children's art being displayed, and here's your space, this is a sign, go find your number, and you gotta take it down on Sunday, so.
Right.
It could be something that needs to happen, so. So do we need to write a proposal to do something like that? Like, is that what you're
I
saying?
just think it would be easier to, if you were willing to do that, we're willing to
Okay.
help you if you want, but that would be the best way to present it to them, and then they, okay, well, we know it now, this makes sense, and then we start to coordinate with them, whoever's the best entity for Wilsonville. But if you want to include schools, and the school districts give them their blessing, if you will, on this, or their help in this, having it be both places will be used.
It'd be as simple as, each school in West Lynn, they put it on their PTA agenda. So it's announced and given to their art teachers, and that way it's up to the student. They want to submit something and the parents know about it, it's in the newsletter or whatever. So it makes it equitable across the board. But would that be something that would work, or it has to
Well,
be?
yeah, what we can do, this is a good end, is we have, we do a joint newsletter to all educators in the school district. That both our libraries put together every month, we trade out doing it, but they go to every educator, so that could be in that newsletter that every educator gets. And that would then enable that to get, and then we could also email and stuff, but that would get to everybody involved in all the schools across the district. We do that already. We just make it part of that.
Well, I'm happy to write a proposal. If you want me to write it, I'm volunteering. Yes, I'll do it since it's my idea. I should be responsible for doing that, so. I'm happy to do that. I'll send it to you, Doug, then. And we can take a look and see if it sounds like a
Whatever you decide we do, we'll CC the whole board.
Yeah.
Everybody's.
Okay, something to look up. And I just, again, sort of little gun shy from the speed with which we developed the show of like, I just like, don't send it to Wilsonville yet, right? Like, I'd like to have a good, robust conversation about who is responsible for what are we asking schools to do? What are we asking teachers to do? Like, I just want to be really sensitive to having a great idea, which I do think is a great idea, and then who is doing the work to make it happen.
How to execute that great.
Thank you for.
Yes, yeah. Any other comments about the exhibits idea? Okay, we'll move on to the review of board members' expectations.
This is me, so this is a peek inside the way my brain works. It could be draft, it would be. These are just some ideas like I've sort of recently sort of based on, I mean, to be honest, and I know other people did stuff, but I feel like a lot of the work for the last art show fell on Carrie and I, in part because we've been here, and in part because nobody else was stepping up to like make a flyer or send out the emails, and so this is a little bit just my response to that. And I think with new members coming in, I wanted to find relationship and just sort of, these are just some things I thought of, but other people probably have things that are important to them about like, because the commission is a little different than say like the Transportation Advisory Board, where they go to a meeting once a month, every other month, something like that. It's not very time intensive and they don't do anything outside of that. Yeah, they have a staff who does the transportation and nutrition stuff like reporting and everything, I would assume. So this is a unique board in that we have the opportunity to have events and to do things, but we are a board of 7, and so we have a lovely staff of 2, but we cannot ask too much of them either. So I just want to sort of put out there, I don't even know if this is something that would need to go in front of the commission to be approved for the council, sorry. Like, I don't know that I want it to be official, but just as a discussion point and maybe starting point, really for new members and other volunteer gigs are like, you gotta be here, and if you're not here, you don't get this gig. So that's also,
Well, it's interesting time, because actually just like 2 hours ago, when we were trying to figure out if they're going to put us here to warrant being here. You said, I think it's in the bylaws, and so I was like, I know, because I know, I was wondering if anybody knew about that, so I looked up. And there's a whole thing, and it's not in the arts and culture guidelines, it's in the, because we share our bylaws with all the other citizen advisory groups. There's a lot of stuff about attendance, and it says like, you will attend, and if you won't attend, you get 48 hours notice. And so we definitely have been enforcing that. So I agree with you. I also want to make sure we aren't reinventing the wheel. We also just enforce the rules that are already, because that way we don't have to get anything formally approved.
Yeah.
Here and there, but
that makes sense, and that's sort of the first part, and then the second, just sort of like, what kind of expectations do we have for people outside of the meeting?
There is a rule, I'm trying to find it, but there is a rule from them, if you miss so many in a year or so many consecutively.
I've seen that, though. I
Yes.
think it's two or three.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously stuff happens. Be militant about it, but just Carrie and I have now been around for 4 years, and there's been a lot of missed meetings. We have forums, and
not that it's not lovely to drive down. the
Yeah.
road and take a left here.
I want to do it, fine, but like it's fine, I have a babysitter. So people are making commitments to be here, and so when I feel like I'm committing to be here, I have the same expectation. Board members. And if people don't want to be at that level, then they should. And then my expectations will be met, right? So part of this also, I thought, I don't know if this is already in there. But I think it would also be helpful for people who may be interested in the chair position. I'm like, well, what does that mean? So what you mentioned, wrote down what I could think of, but if there's anything else maybe specific that goes into that. And then I added a little piece about promotion. I thought that was a good question today, but like, as a member of this commission, you can put stuff on Facebook and Nextdoor and whatever, and you can say, I'm a member of Westland Arts and Culture Commission. Here's this thing. You just can't say on behalf of the commission, we would like you to attend this thing unless we.
We will actually have a communication channel established where it's a very easy thing to just share the thing.
Yeah.
Actually came.
Well, and I was thinking earlier, I was like, well, it would be so nice to have a newsletter that has, and then we. Right. Right. This is a challenge because there are so many great ideas. I think there's so many great opportunities for the commission, but I think my job, right? Like to get those things put in place and to do promotion and to do outreach to artists and local folks. And there's a reason that other communities have whole nonprofits to start
Or hire.
or hire staff to do it. Yeah,
So
so
I think that's actually a piece of feedback I would love to pass along to city council as well, or to city manager or whomever, is that it would be fantastic. We have a decent budget. It would be fantastic if the city truly invested in the arts and had a paid position, even if it's a part-time position, to execute, like for us to advise. Because we're never going to have an arts presence the way other communities do if we don't have those positions.
So I can find it, it's called non-performance of duty, and occurs when members unexcused absence for 3 meetings. So it can be acted on.
yeah.
No, I think we've done that in like 3 consecutive, I think it was somebody that's like 5 meetings, and it was just like, yeah, but I mean, it was, we called it 5, but it definitely have been more than that, so we see it because we see how hard you guys work and try, you know, we work with you guys and the library advisory board and different community groups, and so Yeah, I get it, that you're putting in all the work, and it's nice to have teammates that are working right alongside with you.
So maybe it's just a matter of when there are events that we are doing or things that we are planning. But you know, if it is subcommittee or if it is really clear alignment of roles. Then, you know, I don't know if there's consequence for not filling that role, but like, I mean, for the art show, part of my own thing is like, I don't want my face on the wall of a show that nobody, you know, that has 3 pieces of art. So like, do the work to get the people communicated with and do the work to get people chosen and do that. So I take my role really seriously.
Well, I think that's just it, is that we need to have a greater understanding of all members of what's expected of all of us in terms of active participation. And we have to have we need to feel comfortable making hard decisions to cancel stuff if we don't, because that possible go, no go line passed us by, and we were both like, shit, I guess we're doing all the work. Because it's happening now, like, like there is no, sorry.
That's like when promotion started happening and all of that stuff, like I can use that as the farmer's market for however many weeks we're out there, and like, I mean, I don't want to be like, you know, so
Yeah,
it was a little bit
time.
like, and everybody wants this to happen. There's no lack of desire. There's none at all. The passion is fierce and strong. But the nitty gritty sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How many, I have a question, how many members or people can we have? So, you know, that's it, that's all we're allowed, that's the,
And we can have all.
Other
this
boards
here.
used to be 9 and they cut it down. How many years ago was that? A couple years ago, from 9 to 7. Yeah.
So I mean, if we have like,
You can have all volunteers you want.
yeah,
Get a hold of your artist friends and say, hey, I mean, it's great that Grace is here, and I could get more Graces here. You know, and then have people that are just as passionate about art and
Right.
culture as you guys are, but willing to
step on.
You can have as many volunteers as you want.
And I think that also goes into the really robust planning of things, and project managing things to a degree that we didn't achieve in the art show, that it is like, and a lot of it is going to be a learning curve, right? Because we are, we haven't done these things, but to at least have some bit more structure, and that is, I like structure. I enjoy a spreadsheet. It makes me happy. I know I'm in a room with a lot of artists, so maybe that's not so much everybody else. But you know, the more prepared we are, the better we can provide information to volunteers and decide about roles. And I went to a PTA meeting today, and those are organized. They've got a lot of roles, and obviously national thing, but anyway, I just think we can do better at being really clear about our own boundaries, our own expectations, our own abilities, and all of that, so.
Yeah, it's fair enough, right? But to your point is, the expectations have to be there, right? And then if you volunteer or if you show up, then you make a commitment. You know, you're expected to commit to your commitment. It's that simple.
And also just asking for help, I think.
When you need it.
Yeah, picking up the phone, not emailing. I do that for work all the time. I coach my colleagues that you cannot email people and expect them to respond the way they do to a voice who's asking for help. And so picking up the phone and calling, and saying, I need you, can you please help step in? This is what I'm struggling with. And having that conversation is really important because emails get lost in the woods. They can be misinterpreted. And so,
Or you flag it and you forget you flagged it. And
yeah, exactly. Or like,
oh,
I've got to do that. Yes. but the minute you hear someone bleeding on the phone, like, I really need some.
Yeah.
And then it's a game changer. So,
Sure.
like, if I don't call a person and, I would have been glad to help more if I knew more help was needed, like I said, summer was tough, but this was the first time, so I think it was a big learning curve that we're on. And it was we all our neighbors say we went from 0 to 100 overnight. We went from COVID 2 years to we are all leaving town or out, and so it was extremely, big things were moving. So I think it would be easier moving forward.
I mean, the second time doing anything should be.
Yeah.
You're doing it right.
But it's always jarring, like, wow, and the whole thing we did, we pulled it off, and it was really awesome. So I think that these are great. It's great to have expectations and to say, yeah, we can do this better, for sure. And, and like you said, when someone commits to it and say, hey, you're committing, and this is what this means. So, yeah, but I agree with that.
Create a spreadsheet for your day. And nine, commit to top people.
That's right. If you put it all on Google.
Well, and I also thought, I mean, as somebody who just finally applied to the group, like, I didn't know, like, apply, like, I mean, you've got a little blurb that we created about what the commission is. Our newest member, I'd love to hear from eventually. Like, what brought you here? But I don't think people know sort of what they're getting into, right? So, I mean, perhaps like whatever idea you bring to it, but anyway. Well, especially if you participated in other citizen advisory groups. Since I haven't, but my impression is that the workload is less in other advisory groups. My husband's on the transportation advisory. Very. So that was not.
Oh, that meeting was not me?
That wasn't my. Well, and I know that was the case with some of our previous members, where they were also members of advisory groups, and they seemed to agree with the idea that we do more work here than we do. And so if that's your expectation, then yeah, I see how it would be jarring that.
I think one of the challenges, and you mentioned it earlier, and I've mentioned it before, is that this is a committee that's completely run by, in theory and hopefully, and also practiced by the citizens that are on it and those that you engage. It's not in support of like the library advisory board or transportation that has professionals in there that are, working specifically, and they can do some of those advice and give good advice, and they actually are able to do it. This is something that I guess I have a background in it, a small background in it, but it's certainly, I have 5 different ones I advise on, and many of the other ones, I would say most all the other ones have a component that has a work partnership. And so I think identifying that work partnership with the city, and I think even, as my suggestion might be that we start to bring back some of the people where we talked to a long time ago, this group, Lauren from finance, how much money do we actually have, right?
At the unknown.
Right, well, I mean, it's a known thing, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's not like it's she knows like that, there's a place where that goes. How are we going to define how you're going to make a suggestion for that art? What are the things that are out there? There seem to be a lot of, there seems to be sometimes some noise around all of that, to not necessarily from this group, but from others. And so that can kind of get us off track. So getting back to what are your goals and your missions, and what do you want to do? Because ultimately, you shouldn't have to participate in something that you don't like, right? You're volunteers and you're busy people. We're all busy, and we would want it to be engaging and happy and fun and work too, but something that you're contributing to the community that we all value. I value all of you, and I want to be able to support you in the best ways possible. And I think probably we have more opportunity to do that. We kind of the way the city structure is going is as of now. That's a good thing. But again, I think these are challenging things because we don't have a natural component.
Can we advocate, like, would this group be a good place to advocate for having an employee from the firm?
Well, I think what happened, you certainly could. I mean, I would be, I obviously I'm not in that realm, but I don't. I would say knowing the way the budgets are, if it wasn't coming out of a percentage for the arts, which would be a big stretch at this point to use that funds for that, I really doubt the city would have the confidence to do that from another source.
The budgets have been allocated.
Well, the budgets are allocated and we have pretty tight budgets already anyway, based on lots of different mechanisms and realities. I think before that would be to happen, I think why there's been success, I mean, some of the challenges, to be honest with you, is you sit next to a community that's been very successful in doing this, like Oswego, which has lots of built up resources over time to make them to what they have. That's kind of a quasi relationship with the city now. It's not part of an advisory group like this one is, that's appointed by the city council, and they have paid people that work on their staffs there, and they generate their own resources, as well as I'm sure the city contributes some as well. That may be a model to get to. I think there's steps between now, to be honest with you, and that.
Oh,
For
but
sure.
there was like a 0.1 FTE, right, that we were like, can you take X amount of these dollars, like, whatever, someone, Danielle comes to mind, I've met her, and she's very responsive. She's the one I'm picking on, but like, the Arts and Culture Commission would like to use X amount of the dollars to staff. I mean, that's not even a whole person, she's already working for the city.
Right, and Danielle works for me now, so she's
Yeah.
operating into the structure.
So I just don't know if that is even like at PSU, you could do those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, she's got a pretty.
If you want, she could be.
I think it's identifying what you would like for them to do, like, so if you say, if we had a person that we could help to work with, these are the 5 things, or 10 things we would like them to do.
That's what she.
And that's probably has a better chance of having a conversation around rather than we really want a person. And we're not able to articulate just yet what we want that person to do.
Yeah. I think, yes. Helps with the most of this,
Actually. I don't necessarily think that.
I think conversations can happen. I will encourage and I will promote and I will champion, but I also think that we should temper our expectation in this area. It's gonna take time and
Something to work towards.
And there are also people in the community that want to keep those things separated because they feel that the staff may influence the decisions that the board is making. And so they want a very clean, divided line of that.
And for the record, as you all know, we don't. So-
Yeah, we don't, yeah, but
And we never have, so.
transparency of everything there, so. And you guys know I'll do anything to help you. I'm sorry, I was going on vacation when you were doing your thing. Having a fall on the time.
Everyone on vacation,
Yeah, so.
I think, and I appreciate all your hard work, all of you that were working on it in various stages, and some were really compressed and really, in a short period of time, doing a lot of work, and as well as extended throughout. I think it came off very well. I've only heard positive things about it. I think everyone that participated, I've only heard, really nice things about. So I think from a public perception, it was a nice first thing, and sure, there's lots of things we can learn from it. Like timing, like maybe we should do it at a different time of the year, maybe we need more help, maybe all of these things, but I think you also should put a little bit of a thank you for all your hard work, because you really did a good job, and we're just gonna get better at it. And
Yeah, I thought it was great when I opened that, and I said, oh my gosh, that's a great idea, Because there's professional artists, and then there are those of us that love to art, but, and to share that with the community and to let someone else who likes to dabble know that there's an outlet for them, and I appreciated everyone's art that was here, It was really cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you for putting this together. That's good. It was always good to progress and move forward and have some really good, make it better, so.
think kind of found out related about some of the communication stuff too. I think, and you alluded to this earlier, Lauren, it would be great if anytime we're sending an outbound message of any sort of substance, that we look at, that it comes from us as a group and that we as a group see that first. Because I think there's also messages that, like, there was some confusion about what had been communicated to artists or hadn't and how and when and what. And so making sure that we're all on the same page and
That those messages come from currently whatever Gmail.
exactly.
So it's
Not
not
our personal chats.
And that's a web record.
I also think that if you want to do that in the world of electronic media, that you want to make sure that, you know, everyone has this amount of time to respond. If you haven't responded, we're assuming you're okay with it. That way, you know,
That's part of the
or hey, I
expectation.
haven't heard
Yes,
from
yeah.
you. Can you let me know that it's okay? We were talking about, you're talking about earlier, Sherry. I think that's really important because some people just say, yeah, I didn't have anything, but I'm not gonna say anything about it because I move on to the next email. And it's important that you're not stalled out as an organization because you're waiting on that first or second or third or seventh reply. It's like, yes.
Somebody just read it, they were like, oh yeah, I'm fine, but didn't respond, but everybody's waiting like, yeah.
Well, they could have both ways, like, I didn't respond in 5 minutes, and apparently now that it's out there. But also, let's not wait 96 hours. before-
Right, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's-
yeah,
you know, what you I think you can all decide what that means, what's feasible for you all and your schedules and your life schedules.
This is kind of jumping back to the art show, but one thing that I did need to mention, is that, and I think, again, this was a result of the compressed timeline more than anything. But the more we can work with artists in advance to get their confirmation, and maybe that is just getting the contract from the PDF back or something, not doing it on site. The more we can do that, the better, because we had what, like 15 accepted artists, and we had 3 no-shows. And in the grand scheme of things, 3 no-shows is not a huge number, but percentage-wise, I mean, it was getting scary. When we were hanging the show, we're like, we're missing, like, and one person was like an hour and a half late, which was a little ridiculous. But so between that and the 3 no-shows, we were starting to be like, how do we make the room feel full? And a couple of people had more than one piece. So it's like, how do we do this and make the room feel full? We only have 6 pieces of art. And so I think the more back and forth, I think the more we verify whether or not people are qualified right off the bat, better, because one of the people that got accepted actually lives in Los Angeles. And so he wanted the mailing address like the day of drop off, and I was like, well, that's not going to work. And then, and I shouldn't, the puppeteer, I shouldn't include as a no-show, but yeah, that plus the LA guy, plus somebody who was just literally just shut up, was enough to make us juggle a bit.
Well, and I think so the way the library does it, she has their Google form. And people use the Google form to submit their art. And just seems like having been on the side of the jury, a much cleaner and simpler way to have it be, because she has a question, like, I mean, that whatever her questions are, do you have enough art to fill the room? Are you available? Are you not available any of these months? Anyway, but we can put in the, Judy, within 10 miles of Westland. Are you available to drop off your art at these times? And if not, you can conference spot or something. Anyway, I think there's a simple way to streamline it a little bit more, as opposed to just like, you can do it. And it's easier to keep track of too, because guess what? It goes into a spreadsheet.
Okay. Oh, by the way, speaking of spreadsheets, I transferred, so the form that we use to collect contact information for our mailing list, was a Google form tied to my account, and I transferred ownership of it to our new Gmail account. So if anybody's been in the Gmail, they might have seen you are now the owner of blah, 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 and that's why. So now any of us who have access to that email account can modify the form if you want to, as well as keep an eye on any new forms.
Emailing.
We can like turn it on. When we were actively doing that, I was routinely just updating Dropbox with the spit out spreadsheet every couple weeks. But I haven't done that, a long time. But now any of us can.
All right, any more comments about vacation guidance, anything? Any other board comments?
It might be a good time to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
My name's Carl Turner. I've lived in Westland since 2019. Grew up in Los Angeles, went to University of Oregon, went back to Los Angeles, met my wife, brought her out to Oregon, convinced her to move up. We now have a 19-month-old son, and yeah, I graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Oregon in digital arts. Yeah, so I have experience putting on some exhibitions for the BFA program, which was down at the White Stack Building in Portland. Growing up in like middle school and high school, I played music and played in bands and stuff. And I've dabbled with like video production and things with my friends back in the day, and so I've kind of had experience with a lot of different types of art or forms of art, and so I thought that when I was looking at trying to kind of be more involved in the city, and I saw that there was an opening here, I thought it'd be a good committee to kind of dip my toes into or participate in.
So do you work in that field as well?
No, I kind of work adjacent. I am a purchaser for a sign supply wholesaler. So we sell these materials that go into the sign making to sign makers. And I actually got the job interviewing for a sign shop to be a like project manager or like person who puts together the signs, and the shop is right down the street from where I work now, and they were looking for someone to come on and do purchasing because the person who was doing it was had been there for like 40 some odd years and was mainly a salesperson and wasn't very tech savvy, and so I came in and kind of took it over, and I've been there for about 4 years now. So,
Yeah.
What part of Los Angeles did you grow up in?
San Fernando Valley. I saw your Dodger stickers. Go,
I
go Dodgers.
grew up in Vermont.
So I live Winnetka. Yeah. So,
You're talking there on a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
East Newtown,
yeah.
Grove.
The Valley Girl, that's where I grew up.
They created.
Welcome, I think your skill and experience and having.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to helping out over a team. So.
Well, thank you for having me. I just want to mention, like Oswego next weekend, their 20-year, it's some anniversary of their like art in the outdoors. Of their what? Art in the outdoors, whatever they call their program. Gallery Devils, thank you. And from 3 to 4 inside City Hall, they're doing an art rally. And so artists are going to be like making art and passing them off, and you can buy them for $35. And personally, I'm super excited about it. So I would tell other people, it just seems like a chance to, again, see what other places are doing. Like that seems like maybe something that we could borrow at some point.
So they were doing the 12 by 12 by 12 exhibition, but it's during the day, during the weekdays. So,
Yeah, I think it's a whole weekend event. So
Yeah.
The rally is on Sunday. But, so it's a week from Sunday. No, I'm sorry, it's this Sunday.
Oh, it's this Sunday.
Yeah.
This,
I was gonna write it. The 18th. Because September is.
On the day
Over.
flying by.
Wow, I know.
And then a past thing, which I would imagine other people went to, Oregon City had an art fair at their museum over there. And it was wildly impressive. Like, they had a bunch of different people, and again, like, I didn't know Oregon City. I don't know who put it on. I have a flyer, but
The pre-revision.
okay. Again, just like, oh, neighbors who are doing stuff. How do you do stuff, neighbors? And, again, like, maybe we can sort of build that.
There
community
was a
with them.
lot at the farmer's market of artists that are from Oregon City and County like that, because I was like, sorry, you have to be a Westview. You know, I'd be like, oh, you know, but yeah, there's some really talented artists that feature our farmers artists out there.
Yeah, and I think we can do it for our next show. Sort of use the libraries, like, can you bring your stuff here? Then you're close enough.
Yeah.
That's fine. But yeah, I was really impressed. It was not quite comparable to like Oswego's, but it was big. And I had never heard it before.
And last weekend was art.
Oh, yeah.
And more ambitious.
Yeah. Referral, but anyway, just ideas to steal and then things to go and see. And we'll probably bump it again in our October meeting, but the first 2 weekends in October are Portland Open Studios.
That would be a really cool thing to noodle on in the future in this group as well. There's a very small handful of Western artists that participate in Portland Open Studios, but there's also a general sense of I don't even bother because there's not enough traffic that comes down. And so there was some talk about getting like Clackamas County one going, but that never really got off the ground. But if we wanted to partner with other local organizations on doing a Clackamas County Open Studios, they're just like Washington County, like technically Portland Open Studios is the entire metro area, but like Washington does their own. There is some appetite to have Clackamas to their own, so that's something that we wanted to work with other organizations to do that.
Well, maybe even at our next meeting, we can talk about if we want to specifically support the Open Studios out for Western artists. As a group and say, on behalf of the Western Arts and Culture Commission, comes let you know, these people have a studio. Can't remember, you didn't have to pay last year, I don't think. Sometimes you have to pay to get the map, right? And I can't remember what they changed it to. But anyway, I think you give the right version.
That'd be really cool. And I just remember, Grace, you mentioned like having the arts display. It's for the wineries. There's so many now in West Lynn. And what a cool thing. Do you have kind of, what do you call it? A wine art tour. So, I mean, it's just like, oh yeah, I think it's really fun to promote, it's just like, you know, art.
So maybe it's those folks are available next. That would be a bit of discussion for, the chamber.
And that next weekend, or the weekend thereafter, after that, on October 1st, is that Arch Bridge Centennial Celebration that we talked about before. Largely due to elected leaders from Westland artists. I was thinking the artists from Westland. And so there'll be, and it's a community mural project, and so there's 3 panels, the Westland panel, the Oregon City panel, and the middle of the bridge span panel, with an artist from Oregon City, Kathy Rowe, and artists from the Confederated Tribes, Brian Faybiel, and myself. We're gonna have 3 stations across the bridge where folks can come up and help paint. So when come out October 1st. The bridge is closed and well, they're trying to wrap up all festivities by 1 p.m. so that they can get traffic moving in, because they're shutting down the bridge and the camping areas. Yes.
Yeah. That's really neat.
Yes.
So even if you don't go, be aware of the bridge.
Yeah.
And that traffic might get.
And there's gonna be a couple bands playing there, so it's not just visual.
That's what we're trying to get to do. The Oregon City and Westland couple to get married on the bridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess that's what happened at the opening of the bridge.
Finally, we can be
Yeah.
together.
Where will parking be?
I
with
asked
this
that
closed
question
bridge?
too. I asked that question and I was given a very fuzzy answer that that's been thought about and that there were 60 spots. But that was about all I heard. So I kind of got the impression that maybe it was gonna be on Mill Street. But then I also, which is the street right behind the old city hall, right before you get to the bridge. But then it also sounded like that was gonna be closed. I'm not sure, but somebody is thinking about parking. I can tell you.
Just, then start walking. Well, you could park up along where they go by high school, there's a park on the overpass there, and then you can just walk right down. Or you could park up above the elevator.
Oh, yeah.
Oregon City, take the elevator down.
If you can get,
You just have to take the freeway.
yeah. You have to go up.
Yeah, you could do the freeway.
I mean, but that's not, that like. That's a beautiful view.
Yeah, you'd have to come freeway to 14 or Willamette.
Or you can just get down there and all situated before 7 a.m. because that's when they close. Which is what I do. So I will be there. That's what should be able to come back, so.
Did you say there's been, other than you, there's a Westland artist, an Oregon City artist, are you in the middle?
No, I'm the Westland artist and then,
There's an Oregon,
Cassie Rose doing the Oregon City side and Brian. Pickles
Brian's in
doing
the middle, and then people can go to each one of those.
Exactly. So they're all going to be distributed at either end and in the middle, and then at part of, because like there's you know a schedule throughout the day of like different people speaking and different bands playing. And, at some point in that schedule, towards the end of the day, they're each going to be mounted on these little roller platforms, so they're going to roll them all together in the middle of the bridge. Because it's like that's each one is a third of the bridge.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's neat.
Is the artwork already pre-thought and then you fill in,
Yeah, it's kind of like.
you want the blue here,
Kind
you
of
want the pink here, the
Yeah.
okay. Or just a mishmash and then figure it out.
I think it's gonna vary a little bit artist to artist. I think some will be more in a traditional paint by number, some will be more, you can do whatever you want in this section. So I'm not
So
sure.
not
exactly.
necessarily like a collage type of.
When they all come together,
Yeah.
it'll be like a collage, but yeah, the creation of the mural, it will already be designed and then you're just contributing the actual. Cool. And we'll have all the paints and all the brushes and stuff. Yeah. sounds good.
Any other board comments? Okay, then I would say that we are adjourned at 6:21. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate you showing up.
Thank you.